We're off to see the wizard, the wonder... Oh, hang on a minute. Where are we going? Where's OZ exactly? OZ can't be Oz. Because if it was Oz, it would be AUS. And then you'd be saying, what's your favourite colour, blue? What's your favourite pastime sport? Or, what's your name, Sheila? So what is OZ? Where is OZ? That's not a place, is it? Surely. Can't be a place. I mean, I'm old enough to remember imperial measurements. OZ to me sounds like ounces. Isn't that ounces? I don't know. Anyway. So who were the wizards? Or the lizards? Of ounces? It's a bit weird. And the bloke that wrote the book, Frank Baum, he wrote it in 1900. And yeah, he must have been born just around the time of the Coinage Act of 1873. So I wonder what that could have meant realistically. I mean, wizards of ounces of something. Very strange, all that. And I wonder who all the depictions of the Scarecrow were. Oh, farming! And the Tin Man. The industrial heartland of America. And how about the lion? Who does that represent? Oh yeah. Politician with no courage. Yeah. Dorothy's shoes, eh? Why were they different in the book to the film? All intriguing stuff. Anyway, we're not here to discuss that, or the little tune I just sort of sung. We're here because we've got to clean frames. The most boring, mundane job that I undertake in beekeeping. And there are some arguments whether it's worth doing or not. Cost arguments in time, energy, etc. But I like to know what you would do if you can't just randomly buy new stuff all the time. And so what we're going to be using is this. Soda crystals, which are the only thing that dissolve propolis and wax. You need roughly 5 litres to 1 kilo, or 1 kilo to 5 litres, and these packs are 5 kilos. So I'll spin round and show you around. I'm very fortunate to have access to a mate's farm. His old, well, it's not his actually, I think it was here when they bought the farm, but it's an old pig shed, and I'm going to get set up and then show you around, or walk you around the pig shed. We'll have a little chat about, you know, food production maybe, because honey production is included in food production. And like a complete plank, I've just had to go and buy some more gloves from the local hardware store, because like a disorganised, look, I left my gloves down here last year, shot to bits. Well done, clever boy. Never mind. So I'll get set up, and so I've got these 2 troughs here that I had made up. They're stainless steel. I've got a local fabricator to make them up. So I've got to get them onto these turkey burners or turkey boilers, and then we'll take it from there. So in my infinite wisdom, when I designed these, I thought I was going to run them on electric. So I bought 2 wallpaper strippers and robbed the elements out of there. Had these made up so that would drive off electricity. There's the other one with a removable plug. Similar thing, almost like a kettle really, but they're 2.2 kilowatts each, so you plug them both in, you're up to 4 kilowatts, which is more than a 13 amp circuit on UK electric, so that scuppered that plan. And so yeah, now I have to boil these vats up on a gas. It's the only way to do it. And today's job is to, luckily there's not many here, this is about a third of what I normally clean, and I've no idea why I've ended up with fewer combs. Maybe I've saved more than I thought. These are queen excluders, and we'll go through these at lunchtime when I go off to see those bees, because we're going to be using one, but not these. These need to be washed and rinsed and then dried out before they get used again. So that's today's job. So I'm just going to get the water in that I've brought from home, because it's hot and it just basically speeds things up a bit, even though we are quite late because of my idiotic not checking the glove situation. So this is my trusty Bear Grylls smoker lighter. That's that one going. There's one. There's two. Right, get them on full blast. That one's got some stuff to burn off by the look of it. So yeah, that will start boiling this away, and then we'll take it from there. Right, so while my cauldron's boiling away, this rinsing one's already pretty much boiling, and that little water boiler is on the go, nearly boiling, and then there's another replacement hot water there to stick in it. When that one's been transferred into here, I can start washing. Yeah, this is an old pig pen back in the day, and you know, it looks a little bit dark and dingy in here, but this is what they used to have to do to make a living. And yeah, it was and still is a struggle for farmers, and you know, everyone thinks they're rich and etc etc, but really I left school and home at 17 and started in agriculture and spent 6 years in agriculture, and I have a lot of sympathy and interest in the farming community. A lot of my mates are in farming, either farmers or work in farming or associated industries, and so it's interesting to note from a lot of the YouTubers who do farming videos, you know, how the cost of everything's gone up and the price for everything that you sell hasn't. Maybe the beef industry has kept pace with inflation a little bit, but that's the difficulty when you have all commodities prices settled on the COMEX, which is in America. It's a financial contracts exchange, and that's how they set the price of pretty much everything, certainly all commodities. Right, so I've dropped 4 frames into the vat, and then I just turn them over. As I clean this one, I turn all these over and move one down, then put a new one in there, and then they all work their way across, turning them over every time you do something. Brush them with one of these brushes. Oh, who's that? Newman and Cole. Not advertising them, they're just the easiest thing that I came across on the Southern American site, and or Latin American site I should say. So then they go from there into this vat and get rinsed in clean boiling water, which you can't see there, but it is clean, it's just the steam. And then I'll take them over to this piece of wood here and hang them up in 12s, which is, you know, per box basically. So that's the process, and I'm not going to film all that, it's just mind-numbingly boring, but I'll show you as I go on what happens, or just in stages of when I've washed some and they're drying. Okay, so when I left home at 17, started on the first dairy farm I was working on, my mates came over one weekend to have a look, see what I was doing, and they walked through the dairy and saw the sort of gloves that you wear, arm length gloves, and I've got a suit on, what's it called, one of these aprons in plastic. And one of my mates jokingly said, he said, I know why you like this industry, he said, because of all the rubber wear, which everybody found hilarious. And yeah, that's not really the reason, I just loved it. But that's for another day, that story. So I'll just show you washing and explain what I'm doing, and I'll show you one circuit if you like, and then, you know, we'll call it a day at that, and I'll show you as we go on. So I generally try and start with this inner bit here, like that, and I use these long brushes because they get in between these sections, and I'll just go round in a circle like that. Try not to get your hands in the boiling water, because it is, even through the gloves, it's vicious. So that's that, and then I go around the outside as well, like that. Getting all the propolis and gunk and disease all gets killed by the boiling water, and also the soda crystals. So there you have one cleaned frame. There's a little bit of staining on there, you can see, but essentially that is squeaky clean. And then it goes in here to keep it warm and keep any stuff, and that boils off all the soda crystals, because clearly you don't want to put that in the hive. And then all I do is move this one to here and put a new one in there, so I'll show you that. Turn that over, turn that over, turn that over, and then get another one and start the process again. I always put the grooved side down first, but you know, it's up to you how you do it. And then I'll start cleaning this one, and then they get dipped in there. Sometimes I'll take them over to the boiler and give them a final rinse in boiling clean water, and then they go over to over there onto the wooden rack to dry, and that's it. So we'll come back when I've done a few, and probably be lunchtime by then, but anyway. I'll go on then if you insist. I'll just do a few. There might be a few people who didn't get the gist of that. I thought that was a bit harsh. I'll do a few frames if you like, so you can actually see the process going on, but I'm not going to do hours and hours of it, because it is fairly mundane, I have to say. Someone's having fun on the trains then. I might even have to put an under pair of gloves on. These are not really thick enough for this job. Right, these have all been in here. There's 5 of them in boiling water. Struth, that's hot. I'm going to have to get some other gloves on, I think. So it doesn't take long for the water to get off colour, but you know, there's a limit you can do in each day, but you know, this is why I go over there and dunk these in the other vat to get them properly thoroughly rinsed, and then I'll rinse them in cold water as well and then hang them up. I won't bore you with that, I'll just show you them when they're done. It's 1 o'clock and time for lunch. Dum-de-dum-de-dum-de. Name the tune, name the group. Queen excluders, most of them are in there, but the water's not really deep enough. The water's really brown, even the rinsing water, and all those frames have gone and they're hanging up over there. We'll go and have a look in a minute. So it struck me, the brown is the propolis, and that's why the filming of the hives has got an orangey brown hue, and that is the reason, and there's nothing I can do about it, but I will talk to you about the importance of propolis within the hive and why I don't like getting rid of it. I only do it on the frames here just because it makes them easier to get the waxed foundation into, so that's the reason I clean it out, and it also sterilises them, so you can put these frames into any hive and not be concerned about disease or anything like that. So there's an argument, is it worth it from a financial point of view? These frames are about £2 each, including VAT, something like that. So what's there? 40, I don't know, 70 quid's worth, something like that. I don't know. You've had to stand over a boiling vat of soda crystals with the steam going up your nose all morning. One of those bottles there is 50 quid. That's done 2 years now, still hasn't run out, and it's putting that funny gas stuff up into the atmosphere as well, which follows us around everywhere, and we're not quite sure how big a problem it is, but anyway, yeah, you have to stand over that cauldron all day. Well, I've done it for the morning because it is lunchtime, and you've got this going up your nose all day. You know, your hands sometimes, they just get red and burnt from being in the water. Yeah, I don't know whether it's worth it or not. I just, like I said, I just wonder what you would do if you couldn't just buy new stuff all the time easily, The other thing, of course, is that you don't have to make those frames up, which you have to sit with them on your lap going tap, 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 driving yourself and your neighbours mad. Just putting the nails in and actually making the frame. So they are already made, and etc, etc. But I'll leave it up to you to decide. There is an option to clean them. You can use this if you like. You might not have a handy pig shed to work in. You might not have a handy fabricator to make you up some stainless steel tubs. But yeah, there it is. Oh, wonder what's for lunch. Homemade sandwiches. I should know what's in it because I made them. And I made the bread. That looks tasty. Grilled steak crisps. Yummy. So, just going to woof that lot down, and then we've got to go and see that baby colony and reunite them with their mum. So I'll see you after I've had my dinner.